His stepmother forced him into apprenticeship. Few years later, he returned a billionaire. In a world where blood ties no longer guarantee love. In a mansion where two wives once lived in peace, a tragedy shattered everything. And from the ashes of betrayal, a forgotten boy rose to become a name that echoed across nations. She mocked him, called him useless, said his dreams were too big for a poor boy. His stepmother, who once called him son, turned into his worst nightmare. She tore his future apart with her own hands. But what she didn't know was that she was digging the ground for her own shame. This is not just another story. This is the real tale of a boy they threw into the fire and how that fire turned him into pure gold. So I ask you, what if the pain you're feeling today is the path to your glory tomorrow? What if your rejection is your redirection? Sit back, breathe deep, because this story will shake your soul. This is a tale of a brilliant boy whose stepmother forced into giving up his education dreams to serve as an apprentice, but few years later, he became the most adored in his community. In the serene neighborhood of Lagos, behind a tall black and gold iron gate guarded by twin lion statues, stood the majestic mansion of Chief Josh Kalu, a respected Igbo businessman known for his vast real estate empire and philanthropic spirit. The compound often buzzed with clatter of plates that echoed from the large parties and events, where guests were well entertained regularly. Chief Kalu was a man blessed beyond measure, 2 wives, who lived together in harmony, 3 children who called each other siblings, not step. His first wife, Lolo Yoloma, bore him a son named Vincent, a quiet and brilliant boy. His second wife, Adeora, bore him a boy and a girl, Sam and Chioma. Though society whispered behind their backs, how can 2 wives live like sisters? The Kalu household lived in unity and was envied by many. Vincent often sits with his younger siblings, helping Sam and Chioma with their school homework. Bro Vincent, you should be the one giving lectures at school, not the teachers, Sam would joke. Maybe one day, Vincent would laugh, when I become a professor or a scientist. Or who knows, maybe a president. They would all laugh. Even Adeora, the second wife, would smile warmly. Or so it seemed. One morning, Chief Kalu and his first wife Yoloma left for the village. They sat calmly at the back seat of one of Chief Kalu's SUVs while the driver drove. They had gone to attend a family ceremony and would return in 2 days. But fate had other plans. That same evening, a call came from Enugu police. Adeora answers her phone with a big surprise on her face. Just in a flash, grief took over Chief Kalu's household. Chief Kalu and Lolo Yoloma were involved in a motor accident. It was fatal and no survivors. The sad news tore through the house, shook the very pillars of the mansion. Adeora screamed, "How? When? Where? No, this can't be true." She began to cry. Moments later, the news got to the children and they all cried and screamed. Vincent screamed, "No, no, no." Chioma and Sam all sat in grief, tears soaking through their eyes. Just like a bad dream, the once happy and bubbling family plunged into mourning. Few weeks later, Chief and Lolo Kalu were laid to rest in their hometown in Enugu State. The funeral was like a state event. Politicians, business tycoons, and even foreign ambassadors all came to pay their last respect to the man who brought smile to millions of the less privileged in the society. Their remains were taken to the church he built for his community, which hosted the funeral service. Afterward, they moved them straight to Chief Kalu's village home where the final burial rites were performed. And in the middle of the storm, the family began to shift. Few months after their burial, something began to change in Adeora. Her eyes became calculating. Her smiles became rarer. And beside her always stood her friend, a woman named Madame Do Good, a sharp-tongued businesswoman who ran a booming restaurant in Lagos Island, popularly known as Madame Do Good Spot. During one of their conversation, Madame Do Good questioned, "Why are you feeding another woman's son like a prince?" She would whisper in Adeora's ear, "That boy will collect everything your children deserve. Be wise, Adeora. The grave doesn't speak. Protect your own." "What do you mean, Madame Do Good?" "We are one big peaceful family and that will not change now," Adeora responded. "Okay, stay there and be forming Mother Teresa, while you lose everything to that boy, she added. Those words pierced her heart like sharp arrows. And suddenly Adeora began to lose sleep and was buried in deep thoughts. One afternoon, Madame Do-Good said to her, "Let me tell you the truth, my dear friend. Love is not enough. This is Lagos, not heaven. So you better secure your children's future before that boy called Vincent takes everything." "Madame Do-Good, there is nothing to secure. My husband left us so much wealth and there is no way everybody under his roof will not get enough to live comfortably," Adeora said. "Listen, my friend, you are the second wife. I bet you, your husband will never favor you. You know Igbo men and their first son mentality. I am very sure he willed larger portion of his fortune to Vincent. Shine your eye, Adeora." That was the turning point. Adeora, once loving, caring, who took care of all the children as hers, suddenly became suspicious and cold. After few more days of sleepless nights, she swung into action. She began to arrange things. She had a secret meeting with the family lawyer, made juicy offer to him. And mysteriously, the will was updated. Vincent tried severally to reach the lawyer on phone, but the lawyer suddenly stopped answering or returning Vincent's telephone calls. Exactly 6 months after Chief Joshua Kalu and his first wife, Lolo Yoloma, were buried, the family lawyer visited. Then came the reading of the will unannounced. As they all gathered in the sitting room, Adeora, Vincent, Sam and Chioma all sat quietly in the living room with so much anticipation clearly written all over their faces, except Adeora, of course. The lawyer cleared his throat. According to the last will and testament of the late Chief Joshua Kalu, all properties, businesses, and bank accounts are hereby transferred to Mrs. Adeora Kalu, who shall serve as the sole executor of my estate, when I am gone. But barrister, this can never be my father's will. What about my mother's share? What about me? Silence. There is no mention of a separate bequest to you or your late mother, the lawyer replied. Your name isn't here. He was broken, and he cried. Even Sam and Chioma, who could not believe that was their late father's will, joined him and cried. They all looked confused and doubted the authenticity of the will. Chioma cried. That can't be true. Papa wouldn't do this. He loved Vincent more than all of us. Adeora looked away, like it was no big deal. That night, Vincent stood alone in his room, staring at his father's framed picture on the wall. He whispered, Papa, did you forget me and my mother? He turned and tears rolled down his face. But in his heart, he knew. His stepmother had rewritten the will to her favor. Few days after the will was read, Adeora began to treat Vincent as if he isn't part of the family. She stopped his weekly allowances. He begged and cried to have the basis as a young boy in secondary school, but Adeora would give a deaf ear to him. But his siblings had access to money and everything they needed but Vincent. Despite all the struggle and maltreatment by his stepmother, Vincent did very well in school. He even became the senior prefect of the school. Finally, he graduated the best student in the entire school district and had a very bright future ahead of him academically. He was offered multiple scholarships abroad, the UK, Canada, even the United States. His name was on the lips of every parent and the community at large. But the letter offering Vincent multiple scholarship offers was received by Adeora. With the letter in her hands she said, What does Vincent need scholarship for? She hissed. He should learn trade like a real man. School won't put food on his table. Adeora later visited her friend Madame Do-Good and whispered to her of the scholarship letter that she received. If I allow that boy study abroad, one day he will come back and take over my husband's legacy. Tufiakwa. It won't happen under my watch. Now you are talking, destroy the letter ASAP, she advised Adeora. When she got home that day, she tore the letter without Vincent getting a chance to see the content. Vincent standing beside her pleaded, but she insisted that there is no money to sponsor his education. Just forget about schooling, you should learn a trade, school won't put food on his table, she said. Few weeks later, Adeora instead arranged with her cousin, a tough electronics dealer named Okar, to take Vincent to serve him as an apprentice at Alaba International Market. Vincent, realizing that Adeora was not ready to bend her decision, accepted to ditch his ambition of becoming a professor or scientist one day, to learning trade under apprenticeship. The night before he left, Sam and Chioma sat with him and they all cried. "Brother, I'm sorry. Mama is not being fair to you," Sam said. "It's not your fault," Vincent told his brother Sam. "Just promise me one thing, don't let this change who you are." Chioma could not stop crying as they all perceived injustice and wickedness by their mother. "Brother Vincent, pray every night. God will answer. We shall be praying for you as well. God will see you through," Chioma stated. The following morning, Mr. Okar had his car already parked in the compound. Adeora shouted and persuaded Vincent, who could not stop crying, to go with Mr. Okar and learn trade. And that was the end of Vincent's dream of furthering his education. Mr. Okar trades at Alaba Market, the biggest electronics markets in the country. It was a very busy market known for shouting traders and roaring generators. The market accommodates shop owners, apprentices and independent hustlers who own no shops but make enough money from their daily hard work to cater for their families. The market presents opportunities for hard-working young Igbo youth to become somebody in life without initial fiscal capital. Mr. Okar was one of those who started from nothing and eventually opened a shop for himself and expanded. He was a hard-working and serious man, who never joked with his business. He had many other boys serving under him. Vincent, as the latest apprentice recruited, would wake up early before every other person, to engage in house chores, including washing Mr. Okar's car before leaving for the shop. He was also tasked with the sweeping of the entire compound where they lived. In the market, he was also responsible for sweeping the shop every morning, arranging the goods and setting up the shop for the daily trading operations. And he carried goods from the warehouse to the shop, and would not go to bed until 10 p.m. every day. That was his daily schedule. When his co-apprentices found out how brilliant he was, they constantly mocked and teased him. "So you be bookworm? Fine boy way come do trade. Almo see suffer." Vincent didn't break. Sometimes he even laughed, but he worked. He learned. He endured. He became the best apprentice ever to have worked under Mr. Okar. He had a very good customer-buyer-seller relationship, and they patronized Mr. Okar's business the more because of Vincent's business management skills and polite manners. 7 years passed and he was due to be settled. Mr. Okar, impressed by his loyalty, wisdom and hard work, did something rare. He settled Vincent with over 15 million Nigerian nairas worth of goods and a small electronics store in Computer Village, Ikeja, Lagos. That was the beginning. Vincent didn't just sell electronics, he studied the market like a scientist. He expanded into importing gadgets directly from China, used social media to attract customers, and was among the first traders to accept mobile transfers and cryptocurrency. Within few years, his shop multiplied into several outlets across Lagos. They called him Odogwu of Tech. In fact, he was something else. Those that were into business before he even finished secondary education now learned sustainable business templates and ideas from him. He was invited to speak at international business conferences, organized by the government. Politicians courted his attention. Banks begged him to open accounts. But he never forgot the pain of betrayal. He never forgot the day his stepmother Adeora burned his scholarship letter. One evening, after speaking at a youth empowerment summit in Victoria Island, journalists gathered around him, throwing multiple questions, and he calmly answered with a smile. The next day at his office, Vincent's PA whispered, "Sir, someone is here to see you. She says her name is Chioma." "Okay, Chioma, please let her in." And there she was, his baby sister, now a grown woman. She could not believe her eyes, and she whispered, "Brother Vincent, we thought we lost you." They embraced tightly. For the first time in years, he felt home again. She broke down. "Mama has changed. She's sick, but still too proud." Sam now works as a junior manager in one microbank. He wanted to start his own business, but Mama won't let him. She still believes education is enough without wisdom. Chioma visited his home in Banana Island and was totally blown away. "Brother, so you own all these cars and this big house? You have really proved that destiny can never be changed," she said. Vincent responded, "Yes, as you can see, God has been faithful to me. He has blessed the works of my hand without measure. All thanks to him. Chioma spent few days at Vincent home and saw for herself that he had made it big in life, and she was so proud of him. "Brother, I can't wait to share your success story with Mama," she said as they sat in his living room. Vincent exhaled deeply. "It's time. Time to do what, brother?" Chioma inquired. "You will know soon," he responded. The following day Chioma returned home and told her mother the good news and how rich Vincent had become. Ardora forced a smile. "I knew Vincent would make it big in business. That's the reason I insisted on him learning trade," she claimed. Chioma looked at her and whispered to herself, only if that was true. Few days later, a sleek convoy of black SUVs pulled into the old family house. Ardora stood and watched in disbelief. Her business had long collapsed after a poor investment decision that gulped millions of naira. She was introduced to the business by Madame Do Good, who after that disappeared. Rumors say she fled to Ghana with another woman's husband. When Ardora saw Vincent step out of the lead vehicle in an Igbo native attire, wearing red cap, holding a walking staff, exhuming wealth and riches, she gasped. Ardora stood shocked, unable to believe what her eyes were seeing. As Vincent approached her, she said, "Vincent, my son, is this really you? Good afternoon." "Madam Ardora," he said flatly, looking away. When he finally gave her audience, she said, "You look rich. So all these cars belong to you?" "Yes, they are. Remember you once told me that school won't put food on the table. And truly, I found another way." Chioma came out and hugged him with excitement. "Brother, you decided to visit us today. What happened?" she asked. "Nothing happened. You know, this is still my home, Chioma," he said. "Where is Sam?" he asked. "He went out, but he will return soon." Vincent later sat down and Ardora knelt beside him, crying and pleading. "Please, forgive me. I have realized my mistakes. I didn't know the fire I set would forge gold." "It was never a mistake and you didn't set a fire," Vincent replied. "You only buried a seed. And this is the harvest." Everyone expected Vincent to chase Ardora out, seize everything, and disgrace her publicly. But instead, he sat with Chioma, glanced at a document in his hand with a smile. Chioma watched. He later handed Sam the document, which was a company registration paper. "I just registered a tech distribution firm on your name. You'll manage my East African operations." Sam was so happy and could not thank him enough. Moments later he turned to Chioma. "Your fashion dream? I bought you a fashion school slot in Paris. You leave next month." When he came out of the house he faced Ardora once again. "You once took everything from me, but God turned it into double. You won't lack, but I won't pretend nothing happened. I've built my own world now, and you're no longer the queen in it." Ardora sobbed. "I am sorry, Vincent. I was blinded by fear, poisoned by greed and deceived by my friend. I see now, but I guess it is too late." "It is not too late," he replied. "But your role has changed. That's all." Word spread like wildfire. The boy they chased into apprenticeship was now Vincent Kalu, one of the youngest billionaires in Nigeria. He returned to his father's village and did what no government had done in 50 years. He built a modern school named Yoloma College after his late mother. He constructed a 40-bed hospital, named after his father, Chief Josh Kalu Hospital. He built new roads in his community. He set up the Vincent Foundation that sponsored 500 students annually and gave business grants to market women. During the grand opening of his company's headquarters in Lagos, he spoke to reporters. "They said I was destined for poverty, but hardship only taught me how to build. I don't build for revenge. I build to remind every rejected soul that the stone the builders rejected can become the cornerstone." His house in his village was the biggest and best in the entire region. It was an edifice only seen in the cities, but he built that in the village, an act commonly practiced by the Igbo tribe. One evening, at his Lagos Banana Island mansion, Chioma saw a picture frame of their father on the wall. "Brother, you look more like Papa every day," she said. "I hope I carry more than his face," he replied. "I want to carry his heart." Then she asked, "Do you regret not going abroad to study?" He paused. "Not really. If I had, I wouldn't have known Alaba market. I wouldn't have become the Odogwu I am today. I wouldn't have learned that God sometimes closes doors so you can build your own house. Madame Adeora sat on the veranda of the once vibrant mansion, now renovated by Vincent. She looked across the compound where her children now lived peacefully under Vincent's protection. In her hand was an old photo album. There was a photo of young Vincent, back when she trimmed his nails herself and called him Nwam, my son. She closed the album and whispered, "I became the villain in a boy's life, who only knew me as his mother and wanted to be loved. And yet, he became my savior today." Her face was saddened not from pain this time, but from remorse. "If I could turn back time," she murmured. But time had moved on. Vincent's life was now beyond mansions, money, or fame. He had discovered a deeper calling, to raise others as he was never raised. In his community, villagers now chanted his name as he walked through dusty roads tarred and made smooth by his company. "Odogwu Vincent, Odogwu Vincent," they would chant as he passed. Everyone in the village, young and old, spoke well of him. They whispered that he took after his father, who was a philanthropist that helped and lifted many families in their community before his untimely death. One little boy ran up to him one day and asked, "Uncle, is it true your stepmother threw away your scholarship letter when you were young?" He calmly looked at the boy and said, "Yes. And if she didn't, I wouldn't be here. Sometimes, God lets bad things happen, so better things can be born." In an interview, a journalist asked, "Vincent, what is the greatest lesson life has taught you?" He leaned forward, his voice calm but firm. "That betrayal can be a gift if it pushes you to discover who you really are. That pain can build palaces if you don't let it poison you. That forgiveness is the crown of true success." And with that, the story ended not with revenge, but with redemption. Life is not fair, but your response to life can make all the difference. His stepmother buried him with wickedness, thinking it was the end. But she didn't know, he was a seed. This story is for every child rejected, every dream mocked, every soul betrayed. Remember, where you are now does not define where you will end up. This is not just a story of a boy forced into trade. It's the story of millions of children treated unfairly, talents wasted, dreams mocked. But if you are watching this, it's not too late. Let this story remind you. You are not what they called you. You are not the rejection they fed you. You are God's proof that pain can lead to power and that what they meant for evil, God can turn into a blessing for the world. What to take home from this story? Never let rejection define your future. What you suffer can become your strength. Those who betray you may be paving the road to your destiny. Forgiveness is not weakness, it's divine power. Every buried child is a potential tree bearing fruit for generations. They tried to bury him, but they didn't know he was a seed. From betrayal to breakthrough, from rejection to royalty. He proved that destiny is not in the hands of those who hurt you, but in the hands of the one who lifts the broken. So if they mock you today, smile. Because when your time comes, the same mouths will sing your praise. Remember, greatness is not born in comfort, it's forged in fire. Until next time, stay strong, and let your pain become your power. If this story touched your heart, don't just watch. Like, share, and subscribe to African Tales by Bro Divine. Let the world hear these stories that heal, teach, and inspire. Because here we don't just tell stories. We pass on wisdom, one tale at a time. Thanks for watching. Remain blessed.